right, hey everybody, it's game 5 of this best of 7 series, first round NBA Retro Playoffs. Just finished with the draw and everything, and as you can see on screen here, we got the previous series results. The series is tied at 2 games apiece coming into game 5. These two teams obviously splitting the first 4. The Warriors won game 4, 112 to 103. The Rockets won game 3, 110 to 100. Warriors won over the Rockets 124 118 in game 2, and the Rockets won the opener 118 to 116. So the Warriors were looking to ride the momentum of their game 4 victory. No team has been able to win 2 games in a row in this series, so the Warriors are trying to do just that today. Let's take you to the box score really quickly here. I won't take too long with all this, but the leadoff player for the Rockets, William Slavy's team, was Karl-Anthony Towns. Towns is very important to the Rockets as their starting center, and he's one of their star players. As you can see, he scored 25 fantasy points, played 40 minutes from period 17. Second best player for the Rockets was Jason Tatum, and they need this guy as well. He is one of their stars from the Boston Celtics, obviously. He makes a lot of money, as you can see, about 35 million bucks, and he's due for a huge pay raise next season. He got period 5 for his draw, played 38 minutes, and scored 18 points. Now, 18 points is a decent score, but maybe they could have used a little bit more from Tatum, but, not bad. James Harden, their star 2 guard, also came through with 18 big ones in 38 minutes. So Harden and Tatum both had kind of similar games. After that, it was Scotty Barnes, one of their other starters. They need him to play well, and he scored 16 points in 36 minutes. Now that's falling a little bit short. The thing about Barnes is he is a star, and he's a rising star. He's very young. He's 23 years old, but they're going to need even more from him in the future, especially because he's in line for a really big pay raise. But not a bad game there. TJ McConnell is basically their role-playing point guard, and he scored about 10 fantasy points in 18 minutes, still sailing pretty good there for the Rockets. Moving on to the next guy, Russell Westbrook, their point guard, their starting point guard. Russ played 24 minutes today, scored just 7 points, so that's a little bit of trouble here. Those are the top scorers for the Rockets in the game. Let's move on to the Warriors. The Warriors' top scorer was Donovan Mitchell, and Donovan Mitchell absolutely went off. 25 points for Mitchell in 34 minutes. And, we've talked about Mitchell's struggles in the series. He's a little bit up and down. He's had some pretty bad games in the series, or at least lackluster games for a guy that's supposed to be one of their superstars. And he makes the jack. He makes $35 million. So you expect a lot from Mitchell, and he has been a little up and down. Miles Bridges is another guy who at times has really fallen apart and cost the Warriors a loss. In this game, he had 18 fantasy points in 27 minutes. That's an outstanding performance. So the Warriors definitely making it hard on the Rockets here in Game 5 at this point. Nikola Vucevic played 30 minutes and scored 17 fantasy points. That's a decent performance for a center. Pretty good performance. Centers generally score a lot of fantasy points because they get a lot of rebounds and they shoot a high field goal percentage. Here's a guy we're talking about all the time, Luka Doncic. He is the main player for the Warriors. He is their star, and he needs to play, and he needs to play well. In this particular game, Luka only played 23 minutes. He did score 15 points in those 23 minutes, but that's kind of concerning because you really want this guy on the court for 30-some minutes. You want him as much as you can get him, especially when he's playing well, which is most of the time. That led to Jalen Williams, their next highest scorer. Jalen Williams, by the way, we'll get to the backup point guard for Doncic because he did only play 23 minutes, which means Ahmed Thompson's going to have to log 25 minutes at the point for the Warriors. So Jalen Williams played 29 minutes, scored about 15 points. That's a solid game. I mean, most of these guys, as you can see to this point, you're getting solid games. You want half of your minutes played in fantasy points. So if you get 30 minutes played, you want 15 fantasy points. And as you can see, these ratios are looking pretty good to this point. Jalen Williams would be the closest one to just the halfway mark. Amon Thompson, we just talked about him, the backup point guard for Luka Doncic. He had to play 25 big minutes, and it was going to be very important that he play well. And he played decent. He actually played good enough to surpass that 50% of minutes with about 14 fantasy minutes in 25. 14 fantasy points in 25 minutes. So not a bad effort there by Amon Thompson. Solid effort, actually, if you really look at that ratio there. Chet Holmgren, another guy, is an up and coming player for the Warriors. In this particular game, he played 21 minutes, scored 10 points, so he's falling a little bit short, but things are looking pretty good so far here for the Warriors. DeMar DeRozan, he put in 19 minutes, 7 fantasy points. Not really a special effort. But let's just move on to the final here. I think you guys are getting the gist here. The Warriors played pretty darn well in this one. They rout the Rockets 132 to 113 to take a 3-2 series lead. And now the Rockets are facing elimination in game 6 tomorrow. The draw will be tomorrow. Rockets with their back against the wall. Now, the Rockets got out to a 2-1 edge in this series. They were up 1-0 2-1. Now they find themselves down 3-2 after losing 2 straight games to the Warriors. So game 6 is tomorrow on Tuesday, April 22nd. And just a little bit on the article here, just kind of brush over it. Warriors rout the Rockets, put Houston on the brink of elimination. The Warriors dominated game 5, taking a commanding lead in the series. The Warriors showcased an electrifying performance in Game 5, racking up an impressive 132 points. And they secured a 3-2 series edge. Now, I'm not going to read the whole article, and this is an article that I wrote, and then I put it through AI, and then I kind of brush it up a little bit. I leave some of the AI fluff. I hope you guys read the articles and enjoy them. It's not something that, I do the articles myself, but I don't do them all, obviously, because AI just kind of adds fluff. So sometimes I feel silly reading the articles. That's my point. I don't like to read them word for word. I'd rather you guys just read them yourselves. But I kind of like to brush over the article and just pick up the highlights. And the highlights in this game were definitely Donovan Mitchell. Mitchell dominated. He had a great game. This was huge. 25 fantasy points. That's probably his best game in the series. And when Donovan Mitchell plays really well, he causes a lot of problems because James Harden is one of Houston's best players, and he plays the 2 guard where it's hard to score a lot of points for a lot of teams. So when Mitchell plays really well, it pretty much eliminates Harden. If not, puts them in a hole with one of their best players, James Harden, playing a position where it's hard to score a lot of points. That's an advantage for the Warriors. That's something that they were able to do coming in this series. We knew this was going to happen. Donovan Mitchell kind of neutralizes James Harden. The Rockets' struggles continue. We're talking about point guard here. When you look at the article here, we're going to talk a little bit about right down here, Houston's weakness at point guard. Russell Westbrook had a point in this season where he was playing really well. And then he just kind of faded as the season went on. Look, the guy is getting older. He's playing a very demanding position, handling the ball all the time. You can't hold it against him. I mean, my hat's off to him. When I was 36 years old, I was still playing in a men's tennis league against a lot of younger players, like guys that were like 20 years old. And I was holding my own and winning. I was one of the players with the most wins in that league because a lot of the older guys I'd play, I'd just wipe them out. But then I'd play the younger guys and I'd play them really close. But, at the end of the day, I would lose probably due to stamina, different things. It's hard to say sometimes in tennis. It's such a mental game. And I was really disappointed with some of those losses, actually, when I think back on it. Like, I had some of these young guys on the ropes and just, it is what it is. When you're 36 years old, it's starting to wind up. You're not going to keep going athletically at that point. You just can't help it. Even golf. I mean, you can play golf a little bit later into life, but I mean, just the body goes through a lot of transitions in the mid to late 30s into the 40s, and you're pretty much washed up. So Russell Westbrook, I don't hold it against him, that he's struggling right now. What I think is that the Houston Rockets, that's Williams' team, they need to search a point guard this offseason. Russell is not the answer. And TJ McConnell is a great role player for them, but the Rockets are going to have to figure out something with the cap, get enough money aside to where they can at least bring in a point guard that can help them win, not just a space filler. They really need that to go along with Jason Tatum, Scotty Barnes, Carl Anthony Towns. James Harden still has some time left. Harden's another guy. He's starting to reach that age, like 36, where things it just isn't clicking the same. You're still good and you got skill, but it's starting to be a problem. I I can only explain it in terms of my tennis career. Being a recreational tennis player, my peak was my late 20s, and then from there, I didn't play here and there. For about 3 years, I didn't play much, and I got back into tennis in my early 30s, and I was really playing well. And a lot of younger guys I would beat, but then you get up against those guys that are a little more athletic, and you might be able to stay with them, but at the end of the day, somehow they're able to pull out that victory on you. So just saying, the Rockets have a lot of veterans on this team, and there's going to be some changes needed ahead. I think Jason Tatum is great. He's worth the money. He's going to be earning like $50 million next year. Scotty Barnes is going to go up in price, but he might be worth the money. He's just young right now. He's still trying to find his game. He's going through some struggles. Guys they're going to have to replace are going to be like the center, Carl Anthony Towns. He's, 30 now. I think he's got more time left, but James Harden, Russell Westbrook, these guys definitely you're going to need to do something there. You're going to have to move these guys out and bring in some young talent, and the focus will be on talent. You can't just bring in anybody just because they're young. You know, Teams that make the playoffs in this league, they're built from great players, not just space fillers. So that's something the Rockets might have to be concerned about. Even if they win this series, I think they have to be concerned about that. But today, again, it's all about the Warriors, the defending two-time champions, by the way. If they can finish this series off, they're going to go up against the Fort Wayne Pistons in this league, the NBA Retro League, and the Pistons are no joke. You're talking about Paolo Banchero there. You're talking about Anthony Edwards, and Cade Cunningham is on that team. I haven't been looking at that team for a while because I'm so focused on this series, but we're going to get to that. Whoever wins this one between the Rockets and the Warriors is going to go up against the Pistons, and I'll get you up to speed with the Pistons when that time comes. But for today, the final score once again in Game 5 between the Warriors and the Rockets, it's the Warriors big, 132 to 113. They got the biggest score of the series, and the Rockets have now fallen into a 3-2 hole. Tomorrow is going to be elimination day, potentially. Game 7 will be on Wednesday if necessary. Talk to you guys later.